Listen, if it's your first time going to work in a summer camp and you're worried that you're going to make some mistakes, then chances are you will. However, if you watch this video, then you can avoid these 5 massive mistakes that I made when it was my first time working as a summer camp counsellor. So the first mistake that I made that you guys must avoid is booking a return flight that is inflexible. And basically, loads and loads of people book a return flight that you can't actually change. And I think a lot of this is because a lot of people choose to book flights through Camp America, through Camp Canada, through Camp Leaders, whatever kind of agency you're using. So the first thing that you need to do is avoid this. Do not book flights through your agency, because this is just not going to be the best deal for you. The reality of camp is that you just don't know the friends you're going to meet and the places that you're going to actually want to travel to. I mean, look, for me, I ended up in Mexico in the summer of 2022, and if I bought a flight that I couldn't change, I wouldn't have really been able to do this. So the thing that you guys want to do is make sure that you're booking a return flight that is flexible and has dates that you can change. Now, the next mistake is kind of random and maybe a little bit niche, but it could potentially save your life. And it is all to do with swimming at camp. Okay, maybe it won't actually save your life because of the amount of lifeguards, but the point is, you need to know how to swim. And look, I knew how to swim, let's say. In reality, that meant I knew how to not drown. However, if you were then to put me in a pool and ask me to swim laps or tread water for any sort of long amount of time, I struggle with that, I'll be honest. And a universal truth of all summer camps, no matter where you are in Canada or the USA, is that you will have to do a swim test. And look, what you actually have to do in the swim test varies depending on which camp you're at. Look, if they've got a big pool jet around the lake, or if they just have a little pool or whatever, obviously the requirements are going to be different. But the thing is, you're going to want to participate in a lot of the activities that are around the water. So whether that's even just going in the lake on like some of the massive slides with the kids, or I know in America we had an opportunity to go to a water park a couple of times, and if you don't pass the swim test, you're not going to be able to do this. So what I'll say is all you guys need to be able to do and be comfortable with is treading water for a couple of minutes and just being confident enough that you can swim 150 meters in whatever kind of stroke you want to use. And look, if you are finding this video helpful so far, please consider leaving a like. And as well, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified every single time we release a video all about camp, which is going to help you prepare for, when your contract starts, which is actually approaching sooner than you know. And the third mistake that I am guilty of making is not applying enough sunscreen to myself. And look, this was very stupid on my part, but you see it loads, especially with British and Irish counsellors who aren't used to the heat in North America. Is that you just don't think sunscreen is necessary one day. Maybe it's not as hot as it has been, or it's a little bit cloudy. No. That is a big mistake. The thing is, getting burned is just not fun. I mean, obviously. And you kind of don't actually realize how hot it can get in America and in Canada. But let me tell you, it is warm. And the sun, it's kind of this blasting heat that just kind of creeps up on you throughout the day. So whilst you might wake up one morning and it's pretty chilly, you might need a jumper or whatever, by early afternoon, it is absolutely blasting. But again, simple fix, just make sure you're putting sunscreen on every single day, especially if you are as white, pale, and pasty as me. Now, the next mistake is something that I would say most first-time counsellors are guilty of, but it's really easy to fix. And I'm sure that if you avoid this mistake, your experience is just going to be so much better than anybody else who doesn't listen to what I'm about to say. And essentially, this mistake is just not being open-minded and not trying new things or speaking with new and different people. Now, the thing is, if you've not been to camp before, you can go into this kind of environment with a lot of preconceptions about who you are, the type of person you are, the type of energy you give off. And then you get to camp and you realize that all of this was actually wrong. Summer camp is this really unique environment where you kind of discover a lot about yourself that you didn't even realize was true, or you didn't even realize was there. But the only way you're going to realize all of this and discover all of this is if you embrace everything. So that means trying out those activities that you didn't think you'd like, speaking to people that, you didn't think you'd be on the same wavelength. And if you try everything, you're just going to come out a better person. And I think oftentimes in kind of the real world, whether you're at uni or maybe you're working or whatever, we hold back on a lot of things because, we're fearful of being judged, or we just don't want to try new things in case, we fail at it, which is perfectly understandable because, I've been there, and I'm sure most people watching this video feel that way too. However, the great thing that you'll find at camp is that from the very first week of kind of staff training and staff orientation, you're thrown right into the deep end. So you don't really have a choice, and you have to kind of try these new activities and make yourself look a bit daft, a bit silly. But it's great because you kind of just lose that fear of embarrassment and fear of failure. Now, the final thing is something that I simultaneously regret the most, but it's also the thing that gave me the most experience and taught me the most about life and about who I am. And this final mistake is all to do with hookups and relationships and that kind of culture at camp. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys, this does happen. Loads and loads of people get into relationships at camp, but also loads of people don't, which is fine. And I've heard some people describe camp as a bit like Love Island. I don't know if you've ever seen that show or if it's just something we have over here in England. And this is a bit misleading, but it also is a little bit true. Look, the reality is you're throwing a lot of single people from ages like 18 to mid-20s into this real bubble where they can only really interact with each other. So obviously some relationships are going to form. And in fact, for me, I met my first girlfriend through camp in America about 2 years ago now. And yeah, I had a great time. And that's kind of what I touched on earlier, why I was in Mexico. But what you got to remember as well is that camp kind of distorts reality in a way. So whilst things can feel really, really good in that environment, when you kind of leave camp and you go back to your real life and your real world, whatever that is for you, things can look a bit different. So what I'll say from this is whilst it can be really cool and it can be an amazing experience to have a relationship or even just like a summer fling with somebody, you don't want to do that at the cost of everything else. You got to remember that one of the reasons you're going to summer camp is just to really broaden your horizons. And the only way you're going to do that is kind of having a lot of different friendships with people, and as well, make sure you're not neglecting your time with the kids. And I can speak from experience that when you put a lot of your energy and a lot of your effort into making sure you're having fun with the kids, then your whole experience becomes better as a result of that. So I guess the takeaway from this is you don't want to devote all of your time into just one person. You want to make sure that, yeah, whilst a relationship or a fling can be really, really fun, you're not doing that at the cost or the expense of everything else that you can gain from summer camp. And at the same time, I'll just end by saying you don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. You want to make sure you're being kind, just respectful. Like, obviously, I'm sure you guys know that, but it's important to say because summer camp is this bubble. So if you do kind of have that awkward moment, you could be stuck with that person or in that environment for 5, 6, 7 weeks. But hopefully now you feel so much more prepared before you go to summer camp. And even if you do make some of these mistakes, it's perfectly fine because you're going to know what to expect and how you can kind of learn from them. But if you're interested in finding out some of the biggest differences between working in a summer camp in America and working in a summer camp in Canada, check out this video here. Or if you want to hear about 7 shocking things that you should think about taking to summer camp, check out this video. So whatever you decide to click on, I will see you all there.